Good morning, all of you, my dear boys. So today we are going to discuss some more compounds of carbon and silicon and its compounds. Okay. So now in our yesterday's class we covered carbon compounds, that is oxides. So oxides and allotropes. Yesterday we covered, boys. And another compound, that is H2CO3, carbonic acid. That was also covered. Now oxide is the first compound, first type of compounds. Second one is carbonic acid, that is H2CO3. Now third one is, this is carbide side. So third type of compounds from carbon sides, that is carbides. Carbides. What are these carbides? All these carbides just similar to hydrides. We know about hydrides in our hydrogen and its compounds. So how many different types of hydrides we know? That is ionic hydrides or salt-like hydrides or saline hydrides. That is first category. Molecular hydrides or covalent hydrides, second category. Next, metallic hydrides or interstitial hydrides, third category. So just like hydrides, here also carbides. So hydrides now replaced with carbon. There hydrogen, here carbon. Those compounds are called as hydrides. These compounds are called as carbides. Okay. So now what are these carbides? What type of carbides? Just like hydrides, these carbides are also three types. Let us discuss one by one. See here. Carbides. What are these carbides? These are the binary compounds of carbon with other elements those elements have electronegativity less than carbon. Those elements which are bonded with this carbon, which are called as carbides, less than electronegativity of carbon. So that is those binary compounds of carbon with other elements whose electronegativity less than carbon are called carbides. That means any other element other than carbon whose electronegativity less than carbon, when bonded with this carbon, those compounds are called as carbides. So these carbides, based on the situations, based on the attachments, are broadly divided into three types. See here, carbides broadly divided into three types, just like our hydrides. First one, that is ionic carbides or salt-like carbides or saline carbides. Ionic carbides, salt-like carbides or saline carbides. It is first category. Second one, that is molecular carbides or covalent carbides. Molecular carbides or covalent carbides. This secondary. Next, metallic carbides or interstitial carbides. Metallic carbides or interstitial carbides. So these are the three types of carbides, just like hydrides. So this ionic or salt-like carbides, these are formed by 1A and 2A group elements, particularly S block elements. Okay. Next, these carbides, so covalent carbides. So here, these carbides electronegativity is just less than carbon. So these are formed by elements whose electronegativity just less than carbon. Just less than, very less. Almost same electronegatividity, almost same electronegatividity, but just less than. So best example, those are beryllium and aluminum. So not beryllium, sorry, just a minute. Those are particularly, so particularly what are those? Less than. So silicon carbide. Silicon, particularly. Silicon carbide, just silicon. Okay. Next, interstitial end. So generally these are from D block elements. So D block metals gives this type of carbides. D block metals. Okay. Now, so these ionic or salt-like carbides further divided into three types depending on situations. These ionic or salt-like carbides further divided into three types. What are those? See here. Those carbides having formula C minus 4. Next, carbides having formula that is C2 minus 2. These are the ions. These next, that is C3 minus 4. So these carbides, those carbides having C minus 4 or C2 minus 2 or C3 minus 4. So these carbides when hydrolyzed gives respect to methane, that's why these are called as methanides. Here this is the ion, methanides. Next, this gives acetylene during hydrolysis, boys. That's why these are called as acetylides. Acetylides. This gives allyline, that is allyline. So that's why these are called as allylides. Allylides. So these are the different types of carbides, boys. Let us discuss one by one. Let us discuss one by one. Very, very, very important. Okay. First of all, I am taking so ionic carbides. Ionic carbides. Okay, take. Boys, fast. This is D block metals. Ionic carbides. Okay. Okay, boys. Complete it. First subheading, ionic carbides. Okay, first one, ionic carbides. What are these ionic carbides? Here ionic bond is there. These carbides are formed by S block elements, nothing but 1A, 2A metals. 1A, 2A metals. So formed by S block elements. Formed by S block elements. Okay. So next. So these carbides, boys, these carbides are generally three types. Those compounds are methanides, acetylides, and allylides. Okay. So S block elements and also aluminum ones. S block elements and aluminum. Aluminum can also give this compound. Okay. Next. So these are three types. One, methanides. Why these are called as methanides? When these carbides are dissolved in water, gives respect to methane. Methane gas is released. Here the ion, it contains It contains C4 minus ion. It contains C4 minus. So carbon has negative charge, that is negative charge ions are called as ide. Carbon has negative, that is it is carbide. C minus 4 ion exists, boys. So this is so in methanides, those carbides having C minus 4, those generally gives methane. Next, these carbides when dissolved in water gives methane gas. When dissolved in water gives methane gas, boys. Okay. So generally, mainly these are mainly formed by beryllium and aluminium. These are mainly formed by beryllium and aluminium. So let us observe the concepts. That is BeOR, beryllium oxide, when reacts with carbon, that is 3 moles carbon, that gives so Be2C, beryllium carbide, plus 2COR. It is beryllium carbide, boys. If this beryllium carbide is on hydrolysis, that is Be2C, it is dissolved in water. That is well-known equation. That is 4 moles water, that gives so 2BeOH twice plus methane gas. Methane gas. That is why it is called as methanide. That is why it is called as methanide. Next, similarly, aluminium. Al, aluminium. Al2O3, when reheated with carbon, that gives Al4C3N. Al4C3, aluminium carbide is 2 times. Al4C3 plus 6C1, carbon monoxide. This aluminium carbide, Al4C3, when dissolved in water, that is a 12H2O, gives 4AlOH thrice plus 3CH4. 3CH4. So that means, so this type of carbides are possible. That is, methane gas is released. That's why, so this beryllium carbide and aluminum carbide are commonly called as methanides. Already we covered in our previous topics. Okay, so these are methanides. Next, second category, that is acetylides. Second category, acetylides. B. Acetylides means. So what type of ions are exist here? Here, these contains C2 minus 2 ions. These contains C2 minus 2 ions. Okay. So generally 1A metals, for example, 1A metals are there, that gives, that is M2C2 type carbides are formed. M2C2 type carbides are formed. If 2A metals are involved, because 2A metals have plus 2 charge ending, 1A metals have plus 1 charge ending. So to balance this one, 2A metals are there, that is MC type. That is MC2 type, because C2 gets minus 2. MC2 type carbides are products. MC2 type carbides. So it is M2C2, that is 1A, MC2, that is 2A type. Okay. Now examples. So when sodium metal reacts with acetylene, CH triple bond CH, acetylene, that gives Na, C triple bond C, Na. Those two hydrogens are replaced with this sodium metal and hydrogen gas is liberated. It is nothing but Na2C2. It is sodium acetylide, which is called as sodium acetylide. It is nothing but carbide, boys. It is nothing but carbide, Na2C2. This is okay. So now If this is dissolved in water, Na2C2, it is dissolved in water. So dissolved in water, so that gives 2 NaOH and C2H2. Acetylene gas is released. Acetylene gas is released. Because acetylene gas is released, these are called as acetylides. These are called as acetylides. That means when dissolved in water, gives acetylene gas. When dissolved in water gives acetylene gas, that's why these are called as acetylide. The best example for this current. The best example is this current. Next. So this is 2H2. Next, one more example. That is when calcium oxide, CaO, is heated strongly with carbon, that gives CaC2 plus CO is the productant. This CaC2, calcium carbide, it is the MC2 type. It is our second A group element. So that calcium carbide, when dissolved in water, 2 moles water, that gives calcium hydroxide and acetylene gas is released. Acetylene gas. So that's why it is also called as acetylide. It is also called as acetylide. Okay. So see boys, this calcium carbide structure is almost similar to, note point. CaC2 structure is almost similar to that of NaCl. CaC2 structure is almost similar to that of NaCl structure. So here chlorine has a spherical shape, but here carbide, this carbide has, that is acetylide. Here we called as, it is acetylide. This acetylide has some elongation, a little bit width is there. Chlorine has spherical in nature, so acetylide has some elongation, but similar structures almost exist. So here chloride has spherical shape, so spherical, but acetylide has elongated. So acetylides are elongated. Acetylide ions are elongated. So that means the structure of calcium carbide is similar to that of NaCl structure. Okay. So here, so M2C2 type compounds, MC2 type compounds are possible. This is from 1A group elements, it is from 2A group elements. This is example for 1A group element. This is example for 2A group elements. Whatever it may be, it liberates acetylene gas. It is the second type of ionic carbides. Next, third type. Allylides. Type C. Allylides. Allylides. So that means these contains C3 4- ions. So these contains C3 4- ions. So dissolved in water, gives aniline, nothing but propene. Nothing, aniline is nothing but propene is the product, boys. Propene is the product. Okay. Now see here, sorry, not propene, propyne. Propyne is the product. Okay. Now see here, what is that? So that is magnesium. When MgO reacts with carbon, that is 3 carbons, that gives, so Mg C2 and magnesium carbide plus C1, C1, just C1. Magnesium carbide. So this magnesium formed carbide, once again, is on strong heating, gives Mg2C3. Mg2C3. Therefore, here it is a C3 4 minus exit. This Mg2C3, when dissolved in water, gives, so that is CH3, C triple bond CHN. It is propyne. This is propionate. So let me boys, its structure is similar to this one. See here, C triple bond C. So this carbon has a 3 minus ion. This carbon has minus 1 ion. Overall, this combination gives 4 minus ion. Here also same. So it is a CH3, CH. So it is a propyne. So this propyne is called as L-align. So propyne plus water, that is magnesium hydroxide is the product, 2 MgOH twice. So it is a propyne, boys. It is propyne. So this is L-align. So that is why these compounds are called as L-halides. These are the 3 important categories of ionic hydrides. Ionic hydrides also called as salt-like or saline hydrides. Okay. Is there any doubt, boys? Methane released methanides. Acetylene released acetylides. Okay. Here C power minus 3. Here C power minus 1. See here. So this C3 4 minus nothing but C single bond C triple bond C. This carbon has minus 3 charge. This carbon has minus 1 charge. And it is the charge separation, boys. Okay. Yes, L-halide. This is called as L-halide. So this is called as L-halide. Okay. So this is about ionic carbides. Just a minute, boys. Okay, now. So up to now we completed ionic carbides first. Let us take second category, that is covalent carbides. Second category, covalent carbides. Covalent carbides. See here, that is second category, covalent carbides. Okay, the electronegativity of those elements, which give this type of carbides just less than that of carbon, almost equal to carbon. Okay, so that is only boron and silicon gives this carbides. Only boron and silicon gives this carbides. Okay, less than 2.5, just nearer to. So almost electronegativity of attached elements. So nearly equal to electronegativity of carbon. Nearly equal to electronegativity of carbon. Why is boron? Its electronegativity 2.0. its electronegativity 2.0. Silicon ra, its electronegativity 1.8. Carbon ra, its electronegativity 2.5. Its electronegativity 2.5. Almost same, nearby values. So that's why boron and silicon generally gives this type of carbonate because their electronegativity is just less than that of carbonate. Okay, so boron carbide and silicon carbide. So what are those examples? That is boron side B4C is the compound wise. Boron side, so B4C is the compound, and silicon side SiC is the compound. So these are covalent carbides. So boron side B4C, silicon side SiC are the compounds. Now how to prepare this B4C? How to prepare this B4C? So that is a preparation. That is when B2O3 is strongly heated with carbon. B2O3 is strongly heated carbon. That gives B4C plus 6CO1. This is a B4C compound wise. This is a very boron carbide. Very, very hard material. So B4C. So it is boron carbide. Hard material, very hardening, very hard, and used as abrasive. Used as abrasive. Abrasive means so a hard material used to cut another hard material, used to drill another hard material. So that is the importance of this B4C. B4C. So it is boron carbide, very hard and used as abrasive. Next, what about silicon carbide? Just we are covered yesterday. That is a silicon carbide, which is also called as carborundum. How to prepare? That is Atkinson's process. The product first compound is SiC. So same method is applicable here also. So that is in Atkinson's process, this silicon carbide is the first component, first product. Same method is applied here. That is silica, SiO2. When heated with carbon, so that is almost at about greater than 3000. So that gives silicon carbide plus 2C, carbon monoxide, 3C. So this is the way to prepare silicon carbide, boys. So this silicon carbide is also called as carborundum. So this is also called as carborundum. This is also called as carborundum, and it is also, so it is also very hardened, but less than diamond. So hardness, it is also very hard, but less than diamond, because there is more bond length. So between carbon and silicon, bond length is more, bond length is increased, something weakened, because of that hardness is decreased. But in the diamond, only carbon and carbon, there is the bond length is very a little bit shorter than this compound. So that's why diamond is very harder than silicon carbide, but silicon carbide itself a hard compound. So it is also hardened. Next, it is attacked by. It is attacked by, that is chlorine and NaOH. That means it reacts with chlorine and NaOH. Okay, so it reacts with chlorine and NaOH. So that is how to react with them. That is when silicon carbide reacts with chlorine, that gives silicon tetrachloride plus carbonate. Silicon tetrachloride plus carbon. So it is a 2Cl2. Next, similarly, when silicon carbide reacts with NaOH, 4 NaOH in the presence of oxygen, so atmospheric oxygen, that gives, it is a fusion, boys, fusion, that gives Na2SiO3 plus Na2CO3 plus Na2CO3 plus H2O. Na2SiO3 plus Na2CO3 plus H2O. It is called as a sodium silicate. Sodium silicate, sodium carbonate, and water. So these are the compounds. That means silicon carbide reacts with NaOH as well as Cl2. NaOH as well as Cl2. Okay. Next, its structure is similar to diamond. Its structure is similar to diamond. So in diamond, each carbon is tetrahedrally linked, boys. So each carbon bonded with 4 other carbon atoms, but here alternative silicon and carbons are there. Similar structure, but alternative silicon and carbons are available. So structure is like this. That is silicon bonded with carbon, silicon bonded with carbon. So that is every silicon. Although both these two are 14 group elements wise. It is bonded with carbon, it is bonded with silicon, it is carbon, it is silicon. Like this, the connection is available. Like this, bond is possible. Alternative silicon, alternative, so carbon and silicon wise. Abhishek, please wait. That silicates we will discuss tomorrow. Carbon and silicon, alternatively available. So here, bond length of carbon and silicon greater than carbon and carbon. Bond length of carbon and silicon greater than carbon and carbon. Because of that, it is less harder than diamond. Because of that, it is less harder than diamond. Next, it is used as abrasive. So it is used as abrasive, particularly in sandpaper. So particularly in sandpaper, this is used as abrasives. On sandpaper, that is yes. Where CC bond? In diamond, CC bond is there. But in here, SiC bond is there. So diamond CC bond, here SiC bond. So that's why SiC bond is compared with diamond. Okay. So this is about carborundum and its information. So this is about covalent hydrides. Covalent hydrides can be formed only by boron and silicon. Boron carbide and silicon carbide both are hard. Okay, this is about our covalent carbides. Next, metallic carbides. Next, third one, metallic carbides or interstitial carbides. Or non-stoichiometric carbides. Metallic carbides or interstitial carbides or non-stoichiometric carbides. So these are formed by, so that is our D block elements, boys. These are formed by our D block elements. How these are formed, boys? So see here, this is our D block metals, boys. So metal atoms are solids. So these are the solid form of metal. Like this, metal atoms are arranged. Okay. These are metal atoms, boys. Between metal atoms, there is gaps. So these gaps are filled with boron. Carbon. Not boron. It is bonded with carbon. So these gaps are called as interstitial gaps. Interstitial gap, or which is also called as voids. voids. These voids are filled with carbonate. That means those gaps are filled with carbonate. So between gaps, within the gaps, these carbon atoms are going to be fixed. That is why the density of this metal is increased. So gaps are filled in. Therefore, density automatically increased. Density automatically increased. So these gaps are filled with carbon voids. These gaps are called as interstitial gaps. That is why this type of carbides are called as interstitial carbides. So these are nothing but D block metal. D block metal atom. So when they are arranged side by side in solid form, so between those atoms there is gaps. Those gaps are called as interstitial gaps or voids. Those voids are filled with carbon atoms. That type of carbon atoms, that type of compounds are called as interstitial carbides. That type of compounds are called as interstitial carbides, and very, very, very important. These are non-stoichiometric and no perfect arrangement. That means no perfect calculations. So it is a non-stoichiometric end. So that's why these compounds are also called as non-stoichiometric carbides. These are also called as non-stoichiometric, but that is Fe3C, it is a stoichiometric end, and Mn3C, it is a stoichiometric end. Ni3C, like stoichiometric carbides also existed. So actually these are non-stoichiometric, but this type of stoichiometric carbides, particular calculation falls or rules and regulations are followed by these elements. So that's why, so this type of stoichiometric, but most of the cases are non-stoichiometric, and most of the cases are non-stoichiometric. So that is why these are called as generally non-stoichiometric compounds, but this type of stoichiometric compounds are also formed. Next, the properties of these carbides, so are in between. The properties of these carbides are in between, are intermediate to, in between to ionic and covalent carbides. Ionic and covalent carbides. Next point, density of carbides is more than, very, very important, because these gaps are filled, density automatically increased. So density of this carbide is more than that of parent metal. Density of carbide is more than that of parent metal. Because of this, hardness and melting points both are increased. Hardness and melting point both are increased. So these carbides are generally used. These are generally used as refractory materials. These carbides are generally used as refractory materials. Refractory material means to construct furnace walls. Furnace walls. So those are refractory materials. That refractory materials are constructed by this type of carbides. So it is about interstitial carbides, or that is a non-stoichiometric carbides. Our D block element, these are some examples. Sometimes ratios, that is particularly that is CO, cobalt 1.73 C. Like this carbides, this type of carbides are called as non-stoichiometric carbides. Which type of carbides are also formed by this, but these are stoichiometric carbides. So this is all about your carbide set. This is all about your carbides. Very, very, very important. So that means, so this is cobalt. So 1.73, no particular calculation here. That is a non-stoichiometry. So no rules are followed here. That's why this type of carbide is called as non-stoichiometric carbide. Most of the carbides like this. Most of the carbides like this. But this type of carbides are also available. Hardness and melting point both are increased. Hardness, so because gap is filled in. Gap is filled means strength increased. So that is why hardness increase. Melting and boiling points both are increased. Okay. So this is about different types of carbides. This is about compounds of carbon. This is the end of compounds of, sorry, not compounds of carbon. This is about carbides. Next subheading from carbon side, fuel gases. Next subheading, fuel gases. Next topic, fuel gases. So do you know fuel, my dear boys? What is fuel? Any substance, either it is solid, liquid or gas, whatever it may be, any physical state, any substance during burning or combustion liberates energy, produces energy and light energy and energy are called as fuel cell. Note on the first point. So any substance on combustion produces heat and light energy is called as a fuel. Any substance, whatever it may be the physical state. Depending on the physical states, all these fuels are broadly divided into three categories: solid fuels, liquid fuels and gaseous fuels. Next, so these are three types. Three types of fuels are there. One is solid fuels. Those are in solid state. What are those? Coal, coke, wood. All these are solid form. On heating gives heat energy and light energy. So that's why. So example: coal, coke. So that is wood, cow dung, nothing but pedicule, cow dung. These are solid fuels. Next, liquid fuels. What are these liquid fuels? These are in liquid state. Our diesel, petrol, kerosene, okay, alcohol, ether. All these are in liquid state, boys. That's why these are called as liquid fuels. Okay. Oh yes, crude oil, everything. Although crude oil is nothing but all these combinations. Okay. So these are all liquid fuels. Frequently we are using. Next, gaseous fuels. What are these? Nothing but water gas. Yesterday we covered it. Water gas. Now also producer gas. Water gas, producer gas. Next, that is semi-water gas. Carbureted water gas. Nothing but our LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. That is LPG. CNG. Yes, CNG. Like this end. Condensed natural gas, compressed natural gas. So like this, all these are in gaseous state, boys. So these are fuels. Among all these fuels, the most important fuels are gaseous fuels. Why, sir? Why this is considered as best one? Any fuel which is better if it follows these conditions. A best fuel must follow the following points. What are those points? See here. any good fuel, first point must follow point number 1. First one, high calorific value. It has high calorific value. What is the meaning of calorific value, boys? That is the heat produced when 1 gram substance is burned. When 1 gram substance is burned, how much heat energy is produced by that fuel, which is called as calorific value. And that calorific value should be high end. Okay, so that means high calorific value. Second one, that is, so low ignition temperature. Low ignition temperature, that means easy to burn. Easy to burn it. Low ignition temperature, almost no side products. Side products which produce pollution to the environment, to the nature, which produces pollution to the nature. So that type of byproducts not available. No, not released by that particular chemical. Yes, that is very, very important. Very low cost, cheapest in. Cheapest in cost. Yes, yes, that means eco-friendly like this. So third point is nothing but it. Easy to transport. Yes, correct, boys. Easy to transport. Easy to transport. Cheap in products. That means no irritating gases are released. Yes, no irritating gases are released. No irritating gases are released. No irritating gases are released. Like this, gashless. Yes, accepted, boys. All these are, so decides the good fuel conditions. So all these, among all these points, so generally our gaseous fuels almost follow these conditions. Gaseous fuels almost follow these conditions. That's why gaseous fuels are generally we are using it. Among those gaseous fuels, those are nothing but fuel gases. In our syllabus, water gas, producer gas, semi-water gas, carbureted water gas are there. So that's why we are discussing about those fuel gases. Okay, okay. So first of all, producer gas, subheading. Producer gas. Producer gas. What is this producer gas? It is a combination of carbon monoxide and nitrogen. So it is a mixture of carbon monoxide and nitrogen. So carbon monoxide, that is a 33%, nitrogen, which is 64%. Nitrogen 64%. The rest is so H2 and methane. The rest percentage is H2 and methane. So that is CO2, not methane, it is methane, it is CO2. So H2 and CO2, rest is H2 and CO2. It is a major combination of carbon monoxide and nitrogen. Carbon monoxide and nitrogen. Okay. So this is very, very important. So first of all, it is a combination of carbon monoxide and nitrogen. Next, in these two components, nitrogen is not burned, boys. Nitrogen with oxygen not involved in burning conditions. So not involved in combustion. That means from nitrogen side, no heat is released. Only when it is burned, carbon monoxide involved in combustion and gives carbon dioxide. Okay. Next. So that's why its calorific value is lower. So here N2 not involved in combustion and not release heat energy. So its calorific value is less. Its calorific value is very, very less. Okay. So because N2 is not involved in combustion. So next, how to prepare this one? It is prepared in producer tower. So it is called as producer gas. So it is prepared in producer tower. That's why it is called as producer gas. Okay. Next, how to prepare? That is in the tower. It is due to incomplete combustion of. It is due to incomplete combustion of carbon. It is due to incomplete combustion of carbon. See boys, how to prepare this one? Cv means calorific value. Cv means calorific value. So it has less calorific value because of non-combustible nitrogen gas. Only carbon monoxide is involved in combustion. Okay, how to prepare? See here the diagrammatic arrangement. So it is like this, boys. This is the tower called as producer tower. It is the tower producer tower. So at the bottom, so like this side, it is producer tower, boys. So coke is through hopper. Coke is transferred. It is closed here. So it is coke, boys. Coke is filled in this producer tower. Coke is filled in this producer tower. Okay. Yes, if you want, draw it. If you want, draw it. Okay. So first of all, it is closed, boys. So from this, hot air is passed. From the bottom, hot air is passed. So this air is moving upward direction through this coke. Okay. So that coke is nothing but carbon. Air contains both oxygen and nitrogen. Air contains both oxygen and nitrogen. This oxygen first of all reacts with carbon. So carbon reacts with, first of all, carbon dioxide is formed. Here carbon dioxide is formed. So that carbon dioxide moving upward direction like this. That formed carbon dioxide further reacts with another carbon. That gives carbon monoxide is the product. So therefore, upcoming gas contains carbon monoxide and non-reactive N2. Non-reactive N2 and carbon dioxide converted into carbon monoxide. Finally, there is a mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. So that means the waste ash product is here. It is waste ash. It is ash, boys. Okay. So this is a producer gas. It is the way to prepare producer gas. This tower is called as a producer tower. That's why it is called as a producer gas. So this prepared producer gas on the time, at a time, should be used. So because it is very, very hot, at that hot position, so it is used as a fuel. At a point, on that time, you should use it. Okay. So generally this producer gas is used in iron industry, metal industry, steel industry. So for the manufacture of steel. So producer gas is generally used. Note down the point. So that is how to prepare. That is this gas is used as soon as it is prepared. This gas is used as soon as it is prepared. Okay. So since it is very hot, since it is very hot. Next, uses. So it is used in, it is used as a fuel in steel industry. It is used as a fuel in steel industry, and very, very important. Next, yes, yes, you add coke simultaneously and through hopper. Okay, next. So this carbon, if this carbon monoxide is removed, so the remaining gas is nitrogen. This nitrogen is used for the synthesis of ammonia by Haber's process. N2 plus H2, there is a reaction. N2 plus H2, there is a reaction, boys. So there N2 is required. This N2 is also used for the Haber's process. If CO is removed, the remaining nitrogen is used. That much purite is used in Haber's process for the synthesis of ammonia. This is about producer gas, boys. So this producer gas has calorific value. Calorific value of this producer gas is almost 900 kilocalories per decimeter cube. 900 kilocalorie per decimeter cube. So this is producer gas. So it is a combination of carbon monoxide and hydrogen gas. Okay. Yes. Yes, it is possible. Okay. Next subheading, water gas. Next subheading, water gas. Second one, water gas. So its combination is carbon monoxide and H2O. It is a mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. Carbon monoxide and hydrogen. Carbon monoxide, it is 40 to 50%. Hydrogen is 45 to 55%. 45 to 50%. So this mixture is called as water gas. It is a mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. Okay. So how to prepare this carbon monoxide? Here, boys, see here, both carbon monoxide and hydrogen are involved in combustion and produce huge amount of heat energy. That's why its calorific value is high. So previously nitrogen is not combustion, so that's why calorific value low. But its calorific value is high because both carbon and carbon monoxide and hydrogen are involved in combustion and produce huge amount of heat energy. Therefore, calorific value is very, very high. So what is the basic reaction to prepare this one? See, boys. So that is hot coke is taken. Through this hot coke, so steam is passed. Steam, boys. Steam is passed. So that gives carbon monoxide and hydrogen gas is produced. Carbon monoxide and hydrogen gas. Boys, this equation delta H is positive. Nothing but endothermic. It required heat energy. This equation required heat energy because to heat up this coke. Okay. How to prepare? This water gas. So water gas is prepared just like your producer gas, but a slight difference, boys. See here, that is, this is the water gas tower. Okay. So through this hopper, coke is filled in it. It is cool coke, not in hot condition. It should be heated up. Okay, it is coke. So at one end there is an inlet. At the bottom there is also one more inlet end. Okay, so one more inlet, boys. So See here, for what purpose this is I am used. This is inlet, this is inlet. Okay, so there is an outlet. So please observe, boys, listen carefully. First of all, close this inlet. So pass oxygen, that is air in. Air is passed in. So air contains O2 and N2. Air contains O2 and N2. So therefore, this coke reacts with this carbon dioxide. So carbon reacts with carbon dioxide and produce carbon dioxide, and it is exothermic reaction. It is exothermic reaction. That means heat energy is produced. That heat energy is utilized to heat up this coke powder. This coke is heated with the evolution of this heat energy. This released heat energy is used to heat up this remaining coke. So that waste gases are coming out. Leave it. No need of that part. What is that coming out? That is produced gas, boys. Okay, carbon monoxide, nitrogen, unreacted nitrogen is coming out. Now this is heated up. So required heat energy is coming out. So at that point, if huge amount of heat energy is stored here, so stop this one. At that point, stop this one. So open this one. Open this one. Through steam is passed. Steam is nothing but water vapor. So now this coke is in hot condition. So with hot coke, this steam is involved in the reaction. So and absorb some heat energy. This water gas is produced ready. Now when steam is passed, the coming out gas is water gas. When steam is passed, the coming out gas is water gas. During this process, the temperature of this coke slowly down because it is heated. The heat energy is used by this preparation. So that means sometimes automatically after some time, so it gets cool. Stop this once again. Sending of this steam. Now once again this air in. So like this alternatively air and steam is passed. So when steam is passed, water gas is coming out. When steam is passed, water gas is coming out. Okay. So this is the way to prepare water gas. Boys. So okay. Listen, boys. Listen here. Just a minute. Okay. My doubt is if air and steam simultaneously pass. If air and steam is simultaneously pass, what we will get here? What we will get here? Air, steam simultaneously pass into the turbine. What we will collect here? Yes, both water gas and producer gas combination we will get it. Because unreacted nitrogen is there. So steam combination gives water gas, that unreacted. That means if steam and air is simultaneously passed, at a time passed, automatically CO plus H2 plus N2 combination is available. There is a combination of both water gas and producer gas. Only air is passed, producer gas is coming out. Only steam is passed, water gas is coming out. If both are passed, water gas plus producer gas combination is coming out. Okay, so this is the way to prepare that water gas gas. So is there any doubts? So in the preparation of water gas, so only at the time of steam passes, so this water gas will produce. That is collected, boys. So because here both carbon monoxide and hydrogen, involved in burning, because carbon monoxide reacts with oxygen gives carbon dioxide. Hydrogen reacts with oxygen gives H2O. Both these reactions releases very high amount of energy will release. Very high amount of energy. That means both are involved in combustion, boys. That's why its calorific value is very high. Its calorific value is very high. So next, during burning, this water gas burn in blue color flame. So the flame of this water gas during burning is blue in color. That's why this gas is also called as blue gas. During burning, this gas is burned in blue color. So the gas burned with blue color, blue flame. So that's why this gas is called as water gas is also called as blue gas. It is burned with blue color. The flame color is blue. That's why it is called as blue gas. Next, number of organic compounds are synthesized with the use of this water gas. So water gas next. Water gas is used to prepare number of organic compounds, to synthesize, not to prepare, it is to synthesize number of organic compounds. So because of this reason, this gas is also, this water gas is also called as a synthesis gas. So it is called as synthesis gas or syngas. This water gas is also called as a synthesis gas or syngas. So because it is born in blue color, that's why it is called as blue gas. So number of organic compounds are synthesized with the help of this water gas. That is why it is called as synthesis gas. See here, what is the reaction that? So that is when carbon monoxide, this is water gas, boys. It is water gas. Combination with hydrogen. Combination with hydrogen. And the catalyst, that is ZNO plus Cr2O3. That combination gives methyl alcohol. It is organic compound, boys. Methyl alcohol is prepared with the help of this water gas. And water gas is combination with hydrogen. So under the catalyst, so ZNO plus Cr2O3, that combination, that catalyst, under this catalyst, methyl alcohol, numbers like this, number of compounds are prepared. That is why it is called as synthesis gas. That is why it is called as synthesis gas. Okay, next one. So it's a calorific value, boys. So it's a calorific value. So that is 2700 kilocalorie per decimeter cube. So 2700 kilocalorie per decimeter cube. It is the calorific value for this water gas. Next subheading, semi-water gas. Next one, semi-water gas. Third one, semi-water gas. So it is a mixture of carbon monoxide, hydrogen and nitrogen. A mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen and nitrogen. That means a combination of water gas plus producer gas. It is a combination of water gas and producer gas. That is called as semi-water gas. Semi-water gas. Already we explained in this preparation. So both air and steam simultaneously pass, this gas is produced. Okay. So that is, yes, air plus steam. So this combination gives semi-water gas. So calorific value is in between water gas and producer gas. Calorific value is in between water gas and producer gas, and its value is so 1800 kilocalorie per decimeter cube. So it is the calorific value of semi-water gas. It is the calorific value of semi-water gas. Next, fourth one, carbureted water gas. Carbureted water gas. So it is a combination of carbon monoxide, hydrogen, water gas plus hydrocarbons. So hydrocarbons. So that means this is combustion, this is combustion, this is also combustion. That means all the contents are completely involved in combustion. That's why calorific value is very, very high when compared to previous gases. All these are involved. Hydrocarbons, particularly gaseous hydrocarbons are used. Gaseous hydrocarbons. Okay. So example, carbon monoxide, hydrogen plus methane, ethane, ethylene, like this. Alkanes are used. both alkanes and alkenes. That means saturated compounds, unsaturated hydrocarbons, both are used. This combination is carbureted water gas. So calorific value is very high. Calorific value is very, very high. So almost I'm explaining that is very high and more than water gas, because all the conditions are involved in combustion. So depending on the hydrocarbons used, this calorific value is depending on this calorific. Okay, so that is why. So roughly 3600 is sufficient. Roughly 3600. Okay, so this is about carbureted water gas. Carbureted water gas. Okay, next, fifth one, CNG. That is a compressed natural gas. It is a combination of methane, which is 85% methane. Now all our buses are running with CNG. Nitrogen 2%. So that is, it gives less pollution. It gives less pollution. Okay. So next, LPG. Liquefied petroleum gas. Liquefied petroleum gas mainly contains C3 and C4 hydrocarbons of alkanes and alkenes. Alkanes and alkenes. That is C3H8, C3H6, C3H6. That is butane, N-butane, isobutane. Like these compounds are available, boys. The main constituents are N-butane. Main constituents are N-butane, isobutane, butene, propane, etc. Propane, etc. So this is about our fuel gases, boys. Okay. So I think most of the students understood very well. Am I correct? Okay. So this is about our fuel gases. Okay. Next subheading. So this is the end of carbon compounds. Let us take subheading silicon and compounds of silicon. Subheading silicon and compounds of silicon. Silicon and compounds of silicon. No. So only we are under carbon and silicon only. Only carbon and silicon. Now we are in silicon. Okay. That is first subheading silicon. Silicon. So how is this prepared? Yesterday we covered by silicon. Vaporized silicon is coming out in a Atkinson's process. Like that. That is first preparation method. Silicon. So that is SiO2, silica. Excess of silicon. So which is called as a quartz. One of the forms of silicon. Excess quartz. So when it is treated with carbon, okay, so very pure carbon is used. Very pure carbon is used, is heated strongly, that gives silicon and carbon monoxide. That gives silicon and carbon monoxide. Next, second point, second preparation method. Preparation methods are second preparation, that is when SiO2 silica reacts with silicon carbide, that is a carborundum, that gives silicon plus carbon monoxide. Silicon plus carbon monoxide, that is a 3C 2C1. Silicon plus carbon monoxide. Next, third point, third preparation method, that is SiCl4 silicon tetrachloride. When it is treated with magnesium metal, that gives so silicon plus magnesium chloride. Silicon plus magnesium chloride. Similarly, when it treated with zinc metal, silicon plus ZnCl2. Silicon plus ZnCl2. So like this, silicon is prepared. Next, fourth one, silicon hydride, SiH4, silane. It is on strong heating, that gives silicon plus hydrogen. Silicon plus hydrogen. Similarly, silicon tetraiodide, it is on strong heating, gives Si plus I2. Si plus I2. Why it is highly pure. This silicon is highly pure, almost used in semiconductors. Used in semiconductors. It is possible, boys. It is possible. Next, that is fifth point, fifth preparation method. That is Na2SiF6, sodium silicofluoride. So when treated with sodium metal, gives silicon plus 6 NaF. Silicon plus 6 NaF. So this is also highly purified, boys. The same conditions are also applicable here. Same condition. It is highly pure and used in semiconductors. So generally silicon used in semiconductors, boys. Okay. So this is very, very, very important. So this is the preparation methods of silicon. Next, properties. 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 So that is first one. So it is crystalline. So crystalline silicon has structure similar to that of diamond. So crystalline silicon. So there carbon is there, here silicon is there. Almost diamond-like structure existed. Okay. Next, amorphous silicon is more reactive than crystalline silicon. Yes, no doubt. Amorphous silicon is more reactive than crystalline silicon. Okay. Next, some of the reactions, boys. So chemical properties, that is when silicon is heated with oxygen, gives silicon dioxide. Next, silicon reacts with water, that gives SiO2 plus hydrogen gas is evaporated, that is 2H2. Hydrogen gas is evaporated. Next, silicon only reacts with HFN. It is important, boys. Silicon only reacts with HFN. So that is why, what is that reaction? Silicon with HFN, that gives SiF4. Already this reaction completed, boys. SiF4 plus 2H2. That SiF4 once again reacts with 2HF, gives H2SiF6. So So silicofluorosilicic acid, hydrofluorosilicic acid. Hydrofluorosilicic acid is the name. Hydrofluorosilicic acid. So it reacts only with HFN. Next. So silicon, when reacts with NaOH, so from acids HF, it is with bases any. So with NaOH and water, that gives Na2SiO3, sodium silicate. It is also called as water glass. Sodium silicate, which is also called as water glass plus hydrogen, 2H2. Yes, so 2NaOH. So water glass, water gas, water glass. So Na2SiO3, that is called as sodium silicate. Sodium silicate. Okay. Next subheading. It is about silicon and its properties, boys. So silicon, very pure silicon uses now. Very pure silicon is used in semiconductors. Yes, solar panels. Yes. Okay. Semiconductors, solar plants, panels. So there this silicon is used. This is about silicon. Preparation, properties, and little bit uses. So please follow your uses of every compound, every element in your materials, boys. I'm not covered there here. Okay. Next subheading. Compound sites. Silica, SiO2. Subheading. So that is compound, that is silica or silicon dioxide. Silicon dioxide. Its formula is SiO2. SiO2. Boys, it is occurred. Yes, it is second one. From compound side, it is first one. I am taking silicon as first one. Okay. So it is second one. That is the compound side first one. So silica. Okay. Boys, this silica is freely available in our nature under the name sand. Sand is nothing but SiO2. It is a crushed form of quartz. And also in our earth crust, this silica is frequently available. Okay, but it is a polymorphous component. It is a polymorphous compound. That means available in different forms. Different forms are available. So that's why this compound is called as polymorphous. See here. So SiO2, silica, occurs naturally and exhibits polymorphism That means, so several different forms are available. There is a meaning of polymorphism. Different forms, guys. This silica has allotropes. So different types of allotropes. Both crystalline allotropes are there and amorphous allotropes are there. See here. So silica, that is SiO2. It has allotropes in it. Allotropes. So it has both crystalline allotropes and amorphous allotropes. So crystalline allotropes and amorphous allotropes. So crystalline allotropes, example, that is first one, quartz is the crystalline allotrope of our silicon. It has both alpha and beta forms. Alpha form and beta form both are available. It has both alpha and beta forms. Next, second one, that is a tridymite. DIMIT, tridymite. Third one, cristobalite. So tridymite, cristobalite, these are the three crystalline forms of our silica, boys. So quartz, it is a purest form. So it is purest form. of silica. So next, crushed form of its crushed form. Crushed form is sand. That means crushed form of quartz is called as sand. Crushed form of quartz is called as sand. So it is also called as rock crystalline. It is also called as rock crystal, nothing but quartz. So quartz has two forms, that is alpha form and beta form, depending on temperature. Depending on temperature. Next, amorphous forms. One is agate. Agate. Next, jasper. Next, onyx. Jasper, onyx. Those are the three amorphous forms of silicon. Those are the three amorphous forms of silica, boys. So very, very important. Please try to mind it. So the three crystalline forms and three amorphous forms. Three crystalline forms and three amorphous forms. So these crystalline forms on heating gives different conversions. Different conversions. Alpha is changed to beta, beta is changed to tridymite, and tridymite is changed to amorphous, that is crystallite. And lastly, a liquid is formed depending on temperature conditions. So let us take the change conditions. So very, very, very important. Amorphous forms, just those are the three compounds. That is agate, A-G-A-T-E, agate, jasper, J-A-S-P-A-R, onyx, O-N-Y-X, onyx. Next. Next, conversion step. That is alpha quartz is changed to beta quartz. So by heating, that is about temperature is important. Please keep in mind 573 degrees centigrade. 573 degrees centigrade, alpha is changed to beta. Next, beta is changed to crystallite, tridymite. Tridymite at about 870 degrees centigrade. 870 degrees centigrade, that converts into tridymite. Next, this tridymite is changed to crystallite. Tridymite is changed to crystallite by heating 1470 degrees centigrade. 1470 degrees centigrade, tridymite is heated and gives crystallite, another form of that crystalline allotrope. Now it is changed to a liquid which is about 1710 degrees centigrade. These temperatures are very, very important, boys. So conversion of one form into another form by heating it. Okay, these temperatures are called as transition temperature, at which temperature two allotrope forms coexist in equilibrium. Those temperatures are called as transition temperatures. Transition temperature of alpha and beta forms is 573. Above 573, beta quartz. Below 573, alpha form. At 573, these two are exist in equilibrium. The temperature at which two allotrope forms exist in equilibrium is called as a transition temperature. The temperature at which two allotrope forms exist in equilibrium is called as the transition temperature. That transition temperature for quartz is 573 degrees centigrade. It is between these two. It is the transition temperature. Between these two, it is the transition. Between these two, it is the transition temperature. Okay. Now, what are the properties of this chemical? Next, quartz. Quartz is colorless, transparent material. Quartz is colorless, transparent material. So crystalline substance. Transparent, crystalline substance. Transparent crystalline substance. Okay. Next point. It contains hexagonal prisms. Hexagonal prisms. So it is called as rock crystal. So it is called as rock crystalline. Next, it can transmit UV rays. It can transmit UV rays. Okay, what is that? Quartz. It means quartz rock. So quartz is the only combination. Quartz, it can transmit UV rays. So therefore, so it is used. So it is used for making UV spectrometers, UV spectrometers, UV spectrometers, and lenses, UV spectrometer lenses. So yes, that's sufficient. So it is used for making UV spectrometers and lenses, and quartz is used for this purpose because it can transmit UV rays. Because it can transmit UV rays. Next, if impurities are present in quartz, actually quartz is colorless. Actually, quartz is colorless. If impurities are present in quartz, that has a beautiful bright color. Those are acts as gemstones, so costly stones like that. So see here, that is, if quartz contains impurities, it has bright colors. So these are used as gemstones. These are used as gemstones. Okay. Sand is the crushed form of quartz. Sand is a crushed form of quartz. Already we noted that. Sand is a crushed form of quartz. Next point. Sand particles are coated with iron oxide. Then it is called sandstone. Iron oxide is called sandstone. It is called as a sandstone. Please note down these points. Sandstone. Next, amorphous silica. Mixed with powdered quartz. Amorphous silica mixed. It is amorphous form. It is a crystalline form. And if these two are mixed and is called as flint glass. That is a flint, Flint. Flint glass. Okay. Next. Next and last point from points boys. Let us observe. That is Kieselguhr. That is Kiesulghur. Kieselguhr is a siliceous rock, is a silicon containing rock. So it is a silicon containing rock composed of the remains of dead animals. So very, very important. Kieselguhr is the silicon containing rock, contains remains of dead animals, just like bones like that. Okay. So this is very, very important. So these are some important points towards quartz. Nothing but SiO2. Now some of the properties. So properties boys. SiO2. It is non-metal oxide. So it is acidic in nature. Acidic used as acidic flux. Used as acidic flux in metallurgy. So used as acidic flux in metallurgy. Very, very important. Next, not soluble in water. Not soluble in water. Okay. Next. So next, it is only reacts with HF. Only reacts with HF. So other acids are not reacted any. So see here, what is the reaction? SiO2 when reacts with 4HF, that gives SiF4 plus 2H2O. This formed SiF4 once again reacts with 2HF, that gives H2SiF6. So hexafluorosilicic acid, any hexafluorosilicic acid. So only reacts with HF. That's why HF silica, that is glass materials. That glass is made with this silicon. For etching of glass, HF is used. So therefore, for etching of glass, HF is used. For etching of glass, HF, because HF only acid involved in the reaction. Okay, yes. Okay, next one. Next, second point. SiO2 reacts with NaOH, and so reacts with the 2 NaOH, that gives Na2SiO3 plus H2O. Na2SiO3 plus H2O is the product. Okay, it is a sodium silicate, boys. Because of this reaction, so it is glass and it is NaOH. So because of this reaction, our NaOH is not stored in glass bottles. So NaOH not stored in glass bottles because of this reaction. Because of this reaction, NaOH is not stored in glass bottles. Okay. Next point. When SiO2 reacts with calcium hydroxide, that gives CaSiO3 plus H2O. CaSiO3 plus H2O. Next, similarly, when SiO2 reacts with Na2CO3, sodium carbonate, Na2, that is Na2SiO3 plus Na2SiO3 plus CO2 gas, CO2 gas, sodium silicate. Next, SiO2 when reacts with CaCO3, because all these are basic compound points, because it is acidic, all these are basic, so that's why they react with each other. CaCO3, that gives CaSiO3 plus CO2 gas, CaSiO3 plus CO2 gas. Okay, so these are basic compounds. It is the third one, carbonates. Fourth one, respect to oxides, reacts with oxides. Basic oxides. SiO2 acidic, Na2O basic, that gives Na2SiO3. SiO2 acidic and CaO basic, CaSiO3. So it is reacts with FeO, that gives FeSiO3. Why is these two reactions? So gives SiO2 used as a flux reaction. So it is acidic flux, it is the impurity, so it is a slag formation. So that's why, so it is in metallurgy available. Metallurgy has acidic flux, boys. Okay, next, when SiO2 reacts with carbon, so at about greater than 3000 degrees centigrade, that gives silicon carbide plus carbon monoxide. Silicon carbide plus carbon monoxide of the product side. Okay, so this is about reactions of silicon, reactions of silica. Okay, Next, boys, silica gel. Silica gel. Last point, please wait. It is also SiO2. So gel form. There is a good drying agent. Silica gel. Silica ball set. So it is SiO2, nothing but, or sometimes SiO2 X H2O. Its composition is varied with water molecules. It is a good absorber. Gel form any good absorber of water. That's why it is used as a drying agent. It is one of the most important applications of silica. Silica gel. Okay, that is H4SiO4. H4SiO4, nothing but SiOH, OH, OH, OH. H4SiO4. It is on heating, gives loss of water. So one water molecule lost, that is H2SiO3. That is the silica gel. It is still heated. That gives one more water molecule lost, that is SiO2. If SiO2 is there, water is added, that gives like this formula. Therefore, so gel form of silica is a good absorber of water. That is why it is used as a drying agent. So silica gel is used as a drying agent. It is used as a drying agent in both industry and labs. In both industry and lab. So in both industry and lab. Its composition is varied. Varies any, its composition varied any. So it is variable. That is SiO2 X H2O is the composition. Its composition is varied. So this is about silica gel, boys. So silica gel is nothing but gel form of silica. So it is easy to absorb water. Okay. So this is the end of today's class, boys. Yes. Thank you. GEL. Silica gel. Okay.